upper bracket earlier this week, but obviously they're having to prove themselves and they're having to attract attention now if they want to get through to that top 15 and get through to the grand finals. But 11, are you expecting big things from this duo to continue?
I mean, yeah, look, for Shamoki's a player who's, won an FNCS beforehand. Wheat is this player who's, received a bunch of hype sort of for how cracked of a player he is, right? A lot of talent there. So I was really curious to see how they'd fare together. And I think the big thing is, obviously, things haven't been as smooth sailing. When you're landing Grand Glacier this season, as we know, it can be quite tough out of that spot. And they did struggle when we saw them yesterday. But again, things looking on the up for them. I think they've had some time to see what Nathan and CZP were trying. They've had time to figure out things on their own from where their own games went wrong. So clearly things are finding a bit more rhythm here.
I want to talk to you guys about Storm Surge. Obviously, this has been the big topic. I thought we were going to be talking more about, the aspect of agility, dash coin that you get from Grim Gate a lot more. And actually, we feel like that hasn't been as impactful this time round. Now we've gone into the set lobbies. But Storm Surge seems to be everyone's enemy. It's not each other. It's Storm Surge that everyone is struggling with right now. And to me, that's surprising because we are 1 week away from the grand finals, boys. And yet hardly anyone seems to have cracked it. And Mini Miner, why is that? Is this just the hardest mid-game we've ever seen in FNCS?
Yeah, I mean, in Fortnite, in a Battle Royale, there's not many constants, but in Fortnite, Storm Surge is a constant. It's going to be there every single time. You know what the thresholds are. You can kind of predict how much damage you need to do per zone. And a lot of players, I think, are kind of struggling with that, particularly with how many DMRs are in the game right now. This is a new item in this season that's just been buffed a lot, right? This is a sort of new development in the meta in terms of the amount of players that are using DMRs, so it increases the threshold just by so much that to get to that level of being absolutely safe and sound with Surge, you have to be taking fights. You have to be trying to be a little bit more aggressive, because we see even Trulex in that last game, he was riding on the edge of Surge a little bit, but that was all because he built that tower outside of his base using that DMR. So I think it's a mixture of players kind of getting used to the new items, getting used to the new meta, but also how strong some of the Surge weapons are this season.
Levin, what do you think?
I think it's been hard for people to really practice much of what they want to do for Surge, right? Ultimately, when you look at previous seasons, I think maybe there's been harder seasons for Surge, but it's just in those seasons you had a better way to sort of, you had more opportunities to put plans into place and get things wrong, then figure things out and get things right. It's funny, right? When we were talking to Venner, right? He sort of mentioned how he almost wishes he could have played more games just to get a bit more practice with Surge and figure out what they were going to do. I think ultimately, this semi-finals was a good opportunity for people to get that learning experience. But even then, grand finals is always even harder than any other round. So it'll still be a learning experience throughout those 12 games. And, these teams are smart. They'll figure things out. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's opportunities for teams to get down what plans they want to put in place has been the problem for a lot of them.
Let's take a final look at the leaderboard before we head into game number 2, because I'd actually like to go quickly towards the bottom of the lobby if we can. I just want to see who has got to have a monster performance across the next couple of games, because that's the thing, we haven't got 25 spots up for grabs here, we've only got 15. It's not just about getting one top placement with a fewer limbs. Actually, you've got to have a consistent performance across the next 2 games. And looking at Kenty and Finn, I'm surprised that they're finding themselves kind of falling out to the bottom of the pack, or at least towards the bottom of the pack, because actually earlier this week and yesterday in particular, I feel like they were challenging, they were holding their own, but maybe they're running out of steam here, Mini Miner. Yeah, it's tough for that duo in particular, of course, landing at Grim Gate. We've seen them be quite strong at Grim Gate, particularly I think it was day number 1 of this weekend. We saw a lot of those guys performing very well against the likes of Mustache and Malabuka. Of course, now being contested by Cheatin and Kiduo, neither of those guys actually had a very good game there, so it kind of almost increases the reliance on landing at Grim Gate, because now you need a massive game, so you need to get that dash down, you need to make sure you can make something happen and dash around, try and find some eliminations. So I don't think it'll be a change up of a strategy from either of those 2 teams there. I think it's just going to be hoping that they can get that medallion, and hopefully they can make more use of it than we've seen so far this season. Levin, do you think it's worth dropping at Grim Gate and taking that risk? Do you really need to get that Cerberus loot to succeed?
I mean, you don't need it, but I think it's worth it in most cases. It's so strong, it's so effective. I know it hasn't felt like that on EU, right? Just because of, the mess of how many people have been trying to go for it. But I think there's still opportunities there, right? You know, the game don't lie at the end of the day, right? We've seen in other regions just how strong it can be if you know how to use it and you use it effectively. Do I think now that we will see a bunch of people just try go for it? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think for a lot of these guys, they've practiced in certain spots. They've had a game plan, you know, sort of set in stone. They'll stick with that. But yeah, don't rule anything out, of course.
Yeah, the game don't lie, neither does Levson, and neither does our two commentators, Jacob and Takara.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Jacob, I'm getting excited, but the pressure is on for these players with only 2 more opportunities in these last 2 matches to make it to the grand finals. Top 15 qualifies. You got any names in mind, Jacob? Anyone you're thinking about?
Wow, I just gotta look down my list. I just hope Trulex and Chicho pick up the pace, man. Trulex played phenomenally as a solo to clutch up some much needed points, but they still have 2 more games and a gap to close. And that second game is ready. Let's get on that battle bus and get ready for game 2.
Let us know in the chat who you want to see qualifying in these last 2 matches. 1 game down has already set the stage for the leaderboard. We predicted the cutoff should be around 88 points for top 15, which is about 30 points, let's say, every game to be safe. So if you're able to be consistent, Jacob, you don't really have to do too great in the late game. You just have to make it there.
Yep, around that top 10, top 15, you get a good portion of the points, but most of them are inside of that top 8. And another contested battle right out of the gate, something that we saw, and it was the Thunderbolt of Zeus that really played the difference in this fight, and especially with how early you're able to get it before the team can kind of mount up some sort of a defense or even an offense. You can strike while the iron's hot, and already 7-4s in are just quick to the punch. They have the shields, and they're already moving over to take this fight while they can.
Great use of efficient looting here. Already have the advantage in this engagement that hasn't even started yet, just by the amount of shield they have and loot, which is from winning that drop originally. So now, even though they don't have a lot of materials, it's time, the 2v2. Be careful though, as Akira and his duo partner are full on shield, and Forzen has just gone in alone, fully eliminated. But the Chains of Hades, can they get the job done? No, they cannot. Both players drop to 50 HP. But Akira,
that's so unfortunate. That is so unfortunate. They had such a good position on the high ground. Don't really know why you would even drop down there, especially knowing your teammate. Yes, he has the Chain of Hades, but he doesn't have any variation of the shotgun. But one fight to the next scroll, once again going down, but Sky saving the day. Sky is putting in so much work in this fight, but from POI to POI, spot across the map, Amos and Theon, they get revenge for game 1.
Yeah, they did not come on top in game 1, but now they have a chance to make something happen in game 2. I don't want to speak too soon though. As a potential third party, they were looking at the feed. They said, hold on, the Mount Olympus engagement has not ended yet. Let's go see what's up. See if there's any opportunity to make something happen here, but Stillian knows now. They're forced to heal up quickly here as Conan and Colossus are going to look for some options.
Yeah, they hear the heals coming out. They know the fight was ended, so they're hoping their opponents are weak enough that they can take advantage. And they're doing it piece by piece. They're not dropping just in like we've seen in one of the fights early on today. Just quick angle coming through, not a ton of damage, but it's something to give them a little bit of confidence and a little bit of a lead. Amo just trying to get that cheeky little angle. Conan just had enough. He's ready to go on in, but bites off just a little bit more than he could chew. Quickly gets on out, and this is where it gets a little bit of like a chess match. Piece for piece, move for move, until your opponent makes a mistake.
They're doing a good job holding their ground here. Stillian and Amo. But do they want to fully commit to this engagement? I mean, they don't have a lot of materials. They've already gotten 2 elims. Colossus, though, is going to go up top, see if he can find an angle here. Some sort of cheeky shot to initiate the aggression. You can hear the footsteps close by, but so far no openings.
This is what we talk about when Mount Olympus being contested, overly contested. Fights kind of get drawn out, take a while. Other teams begin to move in, but I feel like that's just any POI, any position that has a lot of players landing around towards the outskirts. And since there's so many buildings, so many different levels of Mount Olympus, you can see why it takes as long as it is. Nobody wants to get overzealous, drop into a box, unprepared, especially when a team like this has already positioned themselves. They've already fought a fight. They have most of those pieces under their control already.
So many builds have been used for this engagement. Making good use of the environment, though, to refarm up while the waiting game continues. Meanwhile, back to Akira, who just got into an engagement at his drop spot. They did end up getting 2 eliminations, though, so now Adrix and Amos are looking to see if they can be the next ones to face off against them, but as Adrix's duo partner gets tagged and gets cracked, it's going to make it much more difficult.
Yeah, just trying to peek through any one of these angles, even going through some of the builds. Flowberry Fizz, fight for the high ground is going to begin. Akira and his duo just quickly are able to cement their position up there, trying to drop down, attack from different angles. Almost needs a little help. He needs his duo to alleviate some of this pressure. They finally reunite, and that's when the splashes are coming down, but they're not giving them enough time to fully heal up. They're consistently pressuring, and that could be the shot right there. Great shot by Adrix to back down his opponent. And the couple of seconds that they've been able to get is crucial seconds for them to be able to heal up like this.
2 players have been cracked now. They do have the Flowberry Fizz to recuperate that shield that was lost, and even Bananas to tank the storm. Now that damage has been done by both teams, they're going to choose to leave this duel and continue with their rotate towards zone. They don't want to let it tick anymore. They need to spend time now as well recuperating all the materials that they've just used in this. With both teams having done a bit of damage, it wasn't necessarily a loss for either duo.
Back on over to the other side of the map. I like how we can see one side of the map all the way towards Brawler's Battlegrounds. We go directly over to Grim Gate, and you're seeing how action-packed it is from corner to corner. And it's Cheatin and Kiruo who actually find themselves in possession of the valuable Grim Gate loot. They have the Mythic Gatekeeper, and obviously the Dash Coin that everybody's talking about this season. It's about being able to put it to use. Unlike the counterparts on NA, I feel like in EU, there's been no one that can consistently make it out with his Grim Gates and win games on a consistent basis due to how aggressive some of the players on EU are.
Yeah, Levin was talking about it. I mean, it's quite difficult when you're that contested, especially with veterans of the EU competitive scene. Ooh. If you're able to consistently get the medallion, it can be incredibly powerful. And did we just see someone get knocked out by the Thunderbolt of Zeus? I believe we saw a Nox player get fully eliminated as Walks now connects the initial shot but gets cracked. As this is anybody's game.
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of fire back when he's just trying to break into the box, but a huge health disadvantage. He has no choice but continue to fall down, which might be a blessing in disguise. Vin and his duo quickly rotating over in this position. It's all a matter of do they know it's 2 different solos, or do they think it's a full duo here trying to stay alive? And this is where they're going to be on the chase. They know exactly where Walks is moving around it on the low ground. They just don't know where that other solo actually is positioned at because Walks is taking a lot of the focus.
They were looking from afar previously. I think this is the duo that threw that Thunderbolt of Zeus, so I think they should know that at least one player has been eliminated, so it's most likely not a duo. It's probably 2 solos is what's on their mind, which is why they do have the option to play a bit more aggressive here, and so far with only one of them in sight. It is just the 2v1, but you gotta be careful. If you're not able to connect your shots, the tables could turn quickly, but last shot gets hit, and elimination now on the board.
Yeah, without seeing that second solo, even hearing that player kind of move around, you see that he's able to disengage for free. One team's curse is another team's blessing. They're able to get out alive. Some of these teams that are going down very, very early here are leaving it into the last and final game to try to get top 15, which almost puts them in a win and you're in situation yet again as X Squeeze, Buzz, still floating around fencing fields. Not too much for them to worry about without teams really getting aggressive at that point in time.
Marius Sangil now up against Diox and Cade. This is going to be an interesting fight with so many duos too in the area, and Zone having pulled far now. It just makes it that much more stressful. There's only 2 games left to play out now as well. The nerves might start getting to some of these duos, some of these players. especially if they end up going down early. Diox, 8 points on the board. Still a long ways to go to be in qualifying range. They cannot afford getting eliminated here.
Yeah, while they're having that battle down below, you see one team on the outskirts watching it, two other teams looking like they're moving towards the bunker, and then it looks like a solo, possibly another duo towards the southeast portion. So a lot of attention being put on this side of the map to where you have to be very, very careful. And you almost got to assume, because it is close to the bunker, that other third parties are going to try to let their position not be known. As Marius Sangild looking confident for a moment, but Diox does a great job of continuously creating separation between him and his opponents. And the thing is, right now, Cade's doing a good job of firing back, and Cade and Diox are just so separated that Marius and Sangild could just pick one and go, and they have good chances of at least getting one out of the two knocks.
The more time they spend, though, the more potential for third parties come through, and even the zone being so far, the more difficult it's going to be to rotate. But Marius and Sangild doing a good job of controlling this engagement, applying constant pressure and doing good damage, forcing Cade and Diox to get a bit nervous here, as a full box might have just come through. Gets the double at 88, but it's not enough. Marius goes down. Diox now with the knock. It's changed to a 2 versus 1. Sangild is put into a tough position.
And as soon as he goes down, you see the mini-map, the players just immediately beeline it in that direction, which allows for Sangild to get out because they have now been distracted. Only question is if he was actually able to get the reboot card, or does he have to backtrack into that position? One important fight that's congested with multiple teams to another as they're fighting for the forecast tower. While all these bunkers are open up all around them, they're just trying to see zone after zone so they could try to make the perfect plan in terms of rotations all the way to the end game.
Kira's in a wood box here, which is a little scary with players close by. All it takes is one double pickaxe. But they know that. They can hear their opponent, and it looks like they're hungry as well. They know some sort of fight might break out here, but Akira has to work on the awareness. Got shot from the back. Now is going to be forced to recuperate a bit of shield here. Has not got cracked, though, so their opponents don't know yet that they might be a little low.
Yeah, it's, even when they're trying to use that focus that duo is going under to their advantage, they immediately try to drop down and then get focused themselves. It's kind of the name of the game. When you're making so much noise, finding a prolonged fight, other teams begin to take note of that. It does look like they were able to steal away that actual forecast tower. And that kind of leaves you two options. You let the team rotate away. You can kind of follow them in their footsteps knowing they have the forecast tower, or you just get a straight up elimination and take the forecast tower out of the equation altogether.
Clownski and Axe Force now. Close to Grand Glacier, trying to decide. You know, should we go up to that ridge? Is someone already there? I don't see any builds. I think it's safe. Where do we want to position ourselves to get a bit of damage as he finds a nice shot? Once again, making use of the DMR, which has been incredibly popular in these lobbies to get your Storm Surge damage.
Which is a huge change from like seasons past. You know, from hit scan to projectile, DMR becoming more and more of a focal point, a part of the loot and the strategy for a lot of these teams. As Clownski Axe Force, we're trying to climb up the mountain, take some position high above, but they get overtaken by a whole nother team. And this is the team that we saw go down. Van already got the reboot onto his teammate at least once, just north of this current position. So you got to imagine down on Surge, not necessarily the best loot split between the two teams. It might feel like they might not have too many other choices other than to focus the one that is closest to him.
Taking pop shots from above. They're not playing too close here, which makes me think that they do not want to risk anything. Just taking shots from afar, trying to get that position claimed. They don't need any eliminations. They just want that angle on the players rotating through to take those shots from afar. Trulex and Chicho, though, you talked about it, Jacob. This is a duo that we both want to see qualify. Flowbrave Fizz, Chug Splashes in hand, now recuperating those materials on their rotate. Waterbending Mythic, though, is going to be applying a bit of pressure onto them. 13th place is where they're currently at with 38 points. We said an average of 30 points each game should be enough to qualify. So far after the first match, they are en route to be one of the top 15 duos that qualify to grand finals. But can they keep that momentum going, Jacob? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, if that doesn't fuel you as Chicho, knowing your teammate basically got 11th place, 2 elims, almost half of the points to qualify. I don't know what will. Jakey and Twy high above Rift Island. Nobody's meeting them just yet. So that's going to give them a huge advantage to look around the map, and it's an advantage that they need. They are 5 below the damage threshold. And I can imagine they're going to continuously fall if they don't find the opportunities that they're looking for. But the Thunderbolt of Zeus coming out, combined with the DMR, they're trying to shoot some shots through. The Thunderbolt of Zeus doing some damage to get them 100 over the threshold. And this is the outside of the box thinking that we're seeing teams do this season.
102 above. You love to see it. With the Rift Island just half the way in zone, there's not too many duos up here, or even in the surrounding area. A lot of them have already rotated. Nice shot by Jakey, though, connecting. Still has more shots on that Thunderbolt of Zeus. We'll see how they make use of it.
There's always something new every single game. Seeing Trulex and Chicho tearing down sky bases from across the map. Now we're seeing Thunderbolts coming out of Rift Island. Sweet and Smokey are going to have to start being a little bit proactive. Center zone, but 48 below the damage threshold. The few teams that they have their eyes on right now are safely boxed up, not really wanting to make too many peaks themselves. So Wheat and Smokey are going to have to figure out something here because they only have so many heals before they're down to none and still suffering the surge.
It's one of the scary parts of kind of being so centered. As a lot of the duos around you probably have enough damage, which is why they're so deep in zone, versus the ones that are on the edge of the zone that have been constantly staggering themselves and fighting to get those tags. They're looking at the edge, but not too many duos in sight. You said it yourself, the ones that are in sight are already boxed up. And they really need to make something happen here. I mean, they've only got a Flowberry left. Wheat, I don't know what Shimoki has. Dropped some minis, but this is getting pretty bad.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the earliest that we've seen Surge pop on almost all day long. And typically, I'd say Zone 4 is when it started before. It goes down to 74, but this is Zone 5 now. We need to go down to 60 players if you're going to feel any bit of safety. And Smokey just taking the sacrifice. Shield's getting dropped off, but now he falls below Surge yet again. Even if you're above, if you're only above by mere inches, it's going to turn into a nightmare. 155 below. They almost got sent back to start. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Nothing. Smokey and Wheat are going to have to figure it out from scratch.
They were feeling so good for a second after that DMR shot. Said, okay, 60 above. Boom, 160 below instantly. You can see how quickly they're forced to make a decision now. They literally have to push a duo here. It's going to be Scroll and Sky. That's going to be on the other end of that fight.
This is game 2, and Marius just down on Surge yet again. I don't know where the switch up happening from having these phenomenal games to just hitting like a speed bump in the road. But I feel like if anybody can do it and make something of a game like this, it's going to be Marius, but he's 56 below the damage threshold. Also taking damage to Surge. The banana is popped. It's going to allow him a few more seconds to be able to stay alive. And it's here. It's all or nothing. Harrison He's able to get in, get a couple of shots, but he got eaten alive by the last game winners.
Care package. Dropped off. Wheat Shimoki still below now, in much worse of a situation than just a few seconds ago. One tick away from Shimoki being eliminated. There it is. Wheat now following behind shortly if he's unable to make something happen. Scroll and Sky, though, they're healthy. 107 above. Diox Cade close by.
It's just unfortunate. They were trying to be proactive. They were trying to look for the surge. Just nothing was working out for them. Scroll and Sky, 164 above before it turns off. So at least have some sort of a marker of where they currently stand in the world of Storm Surge. But immediately, as soon as it turns off, they lose over 100 Surge, but they waste no time picking up a couple more shots and elimination to find themselves in a much better spot.
This is huge, actually. 5 eliminations in 6 zone is a great way to start off your second match, but you got to be careful after getting sniped. 40 HP. I'm a bit nervous. They're just popping minis here. One snipe, one headshot from the DMR could instantly knock down Scroll here. As one shot to the body connects. Almost cracked once again. 43 effective HP and shield. You're gonna have to overbuild here, Scroll. It's not worth it.
I've never been more scared for somebody. Just one DMR shot will take down Scroll, and you kind of add in the fact that zone's pushing him in, shots are coming in from different directions, HP going out the window. depending on what Sky has, they might end up being a chance to regenerate some of that HP because he's fresh out himself. He's just trying to find a spot safe in the zone for now, but it doesn't look like that's a possibility. So many players making this a focal point, trying to take him down, but he finally reunites with Scroll and finds one. He finds a gift towards the backside of the zone, which is a refresh on loot, but does not find the HP that they need.
Scroll gets knocked as well. Not choosing to build a wall for him, as he doesn't have time to get the revive. The pressure keeps coming, but it looks like hopefully maybe the pressure will slow down. But with Storm Surge being active, now 49 players had stopped it, but the damage has already been done.
Yeah, you're seeing a bunch of solos in this position alone with Sky, with Cade. If Tidy doesn't have his teammates still left alive, he's down low by himself. So already, before placement points have even begun to set in, there's about 4 solos running around, which isn't much, but you know, in a lobby full of full duos, full hungry duos to make a grand finals like this, it's not a position you want to be in. But with Trulex giving solos hope in that last game, anything is possible for Sky.
The rotate continues. Sky at 60 points in theory in terms of consistency. He's done a good job for game 1 and 2 here already, but every point matters. Still has a decent amount of builds to work with, maybe just enough to make it to zone. With the amount of shots that are coming through, the materials are going down extremely quickly. Robin close by, completely cracked. 1 shot away from getting eliminated as well, as Sky now dropped to 5 shield. Just 46 total effective HP and shield as the mini gets popped.
Yeah, it's just a tough spot to be in, especially with so many teams. The ones that even just damaged you at that, still rotating parallel. Sky's just trying to recycle the builds, go through almost unnoticed, but he sees players all around him at any corner, and he's on the most stacked side of the zone, but quickly finds a good shot. Not sure he was able to actually clean up the elimination, but he went in for the loot regardless before finally going down himself.
Haris and Skari from 2 below to getting a nice knock, bringing them more than 100 above from both eliminations there. Great way to pick some up from afar. Now the duos that have made it here to zone have overcome the most difficult part of Storm Surge, but what do they have left over after it is the question. Are they still healthy? Have they used all their shields, almost all the materials? It's going to be the deciding factor on how their next rotates are going to go.
Yeah, and there's still about 4 players that will need to go down in this next zone. When Storm Surge reactivates, then after that, it's another 10 players. So even though you feel safe, Storm Surge turns off, zone moving in. It's never over until it's over, as Cheatin and Kuduo with the Grim Gate loot still finding a way to go through almost unnoticed. Until then, Cheatin gets most of his shields drained right off, down to just the minis. 106 damage above the threshold as well. And this is where it's scary. All that work you put fighting Grim Gates just to get it this far, and now you're almost forced into a situation where you need an impact frag to keep your game going.
Almost made it. A lot of the duos are going to be on the east side of zone here. You can see so many people struggling, having to refarm anything they possibly can. Just 10 builds for Cheated. Kiddo most likely shortly behind. You know, though, the players are going to be coming in later behind them. They're kind of keeping awareness on check here, seeing if there's going to be any openings for some shots. Chicho Trulex, though. 2 medkits, not too much juice left in the flow barrier as they quickly go for a wall replace. It's a pre-edit. No luck, though.
And I like how they quickly just rein themselves back, not getting too greedy in some of these situations before peeking back through. They hear some of the shots being fired off from down below, and they even see the flowberry fizz that lets them know that that player down low is pretty weak. You see them making the decision with the zone about to move. They're just going to focus on their rotation instead of just putting it all on the line for that one solo.
Do they have enough materials to maintain height? Really depends if zone keeps pulling far or if it decides to pull back. Jake Buka, Cringe inside of the zone, but they've been caught. Not enough pressure to get them eliminated, but Cheatin and Kidduo now forced into a box fight. It's a 2v2. You have to connect your shots here. That's a huge one on the knock. Now hopefully they can recuperate a bit of mats, but you gotta be careful. Cheatin gets knocked down. Kidduo left alone.
That's Chicho on the other side. They probably saw the coin get dashed around and they want to go in for that loot. Unfortunate enough, Cheatin with the quick pass on over to Kidduo before going down, saves it. Keeps it under their control, but Robon with a late high ground retake, trying to solidify it for themselves, and it does look like that one's going to come to fruition. Robon, Fast Roki are the new leaders of that high ground.
44 points. They didn't have a great start in the first match. Now looking to recuperate that. They just have to maintain to their position. Kidduo trying to get ahead once again. He has those dashes, but now with 0 materials, not a lot of HP or shield to work with. Just letting the clock tick and the placement points rack.
Yeah, the only thing he really has going for him right now is Storm Surge no longer in the rest of this game. So doesn't have to work, doesn't have to peek, fight for Surge against all these other teams that are sliding down the mountain. Wrong box, brother. But he takes the big hit from the Storm Surge. He's just down to 2 HP. Shots coming in from above. But that elimination was huge because it got him the materials to build this box.
4 extra points. Now, like you said, just 3 more builds to work with after this box has been made. Gotta take a quick peek. Not enough damage for a crack. Now pressure's onto Kidduo. Forced to go ahead. He has a bush he can hide in, but he's gonna force to just try and survive as long as possible. He does choose to sit in the bush. How long, though, before a duo walks in?
Just like Trulex in this last game, these are big solo points. And speak of the man himself, Kidduo goes over the top to try to take him down, but they return the favor. And now the coin has been passed on over to Chicho and Trulex, who's trying to heal to the backside of the zone, giving them at least a fighting chance. But hopefully they don't look up because they're going to see the titans of this lobby. Robon still on above, putting that pressure down. Akira trying to move through, finds a flank onto Finn. Elimination is all but handled as he finally escapes at the tail end of that one.
Chicho has gone down. Akira, though, continuing strong. Just 2 builds, though. He's going to be forced to find an elimination here as he looks for an angle. Connects the shot. Has to pick up the materials, though. Pressure's coming down from above. Dropped to 8 HP. Fastroki has dropped now. They've maintained height in these last moving zones, but they have to close it out now.
Yeah, if they close it out, this is picture perfect for them. The spray coming down from above. He's finally dropped down to join his teammate. Elimination is going to be cleaned up. Fastroki with those newly found builds immediately separates himself and everybody else that's on the low ground. 2v2 situation, and we're moving up a mountain ridge.
The 2v2. The pressure is on. High versus low. Who's going to be able to connect their shots as Fastroki is out of materials. Both players now taking shots back and forth. One crack comes through. Another one from Raban. They have the HP advantage. They just cannot miss any more shots, though. Fastroki goes down and Raban finishes both players off and secures the win.
You know what the secret tool for that one? Raban brought his protractor. He was checking every single angle because he had at least 3 or 4 different ones in that last fight, making sure, I know you might go down, Fastroki, but I will be there to avenge you. Win the game and all but qualify to the grand finals with 1 game left.
Not missing a single shot. Elim after Elim doing a great job of holding height in those final zones and playing aggressive at the right moment to close it out. That's a good way to secure your spot in the grand finals.
Yeah, you saw Fastroki just spraying down, getting his opponents weak. He drops down and he's at different angles, in zone, out of zone. Robon is just the man. 5 eliminations simply by himself. Him and Fastroki have to be feeling on top of the world after that one.
That was an insane match, Jacob. It's been non-stop action. And now there's just 1 game left. We've played 2 matches of this lower bracket. As a quick reminder, we had 25 duos qualify from the upper bracket earlier today. And now this is the last chance for these duos to qualify. 15 spots are up for grabs. The top 15 on this leaderboard. And now there's not 3 matches to be played off. It's literally the last chance, the last game, and the last opportunity for these duos to make grand finals.
Yeah, it's really exciting that it's really just coming down to this one moment. With 2 games done, let's take a look at those standings to see where everybody is positioned. We know the top of the leaderboard is probably filled with our most consistent players, our game winners, Riss and Skvi, who've been dominant on the high ground so far, but it's that bubble, that line of 15 that we got to worry about. And speak of them themselves, Riss and Skvi, first place, all that domination on high ground to finally take the top spot.
From the VR to the consistency. Not only that, we also have Trulex and Chicho in 3rd place, so they've been holding on, but that's the cutoff right now, Jacob. Look at that number 15. It's 68 points. We predicted it's going to be around 88 after this next match concludes. So even right now, if you're in the top 15, you see Sangild, Marius, Rabbit, Nova, all of these duos, they're comfortable right now, but you cannot get too comfortable because all It all comes down to this last match.
Yeah, you can't let your foot up off that gas at a moment, because all it takes is going down. Not even at the start of the game, Takata. If you go down before that top 25, your FNCS is over. And with how some of these days have been, with the consistency in day 1, consistency in day 2, even if you look at the upper bracket to start the day, there was a tie for 25th and 26th place, losing it out, going to the lower bracket on that tiebreaker. So this last and final game is going to mean everything for some of these teams outside of the top 15, and the battle bus is ready, and our last game of the day starts now.
I'm excited, Jacob. We've had 3 days of competition leading up to this point, and it's went faster than I've thought. I mean, 10 duos qualified directly just from a victory royale in day 1 and 2 of the semifinals. Day 3 comes, 25 duos instantly qualify in the upper bracket, but now we're literally at the last chance to make it. The pressure is on, the nerves are active for these players, and we're starting off with an engagement already.
Oh, this is not what you want to have happen. 32 points, and he finally defends the throne. That early engagement. Vispin again, he's been the player out of this duo. Obviously, Chexi's doing his part, but when it comes down to just putting your foot down and not letting anybody cross that line, he has been a driving force for this team. So if you see them in that top 15, you have to give him a lot of credit for fights like that.
Respect on their name. I think they're at 40-something points after that elim, so they are quite a bit away from qualifying range. But another duo that's also far away, Moneymaker for 9. 8 points on the leaderboard, Jacob. 80 points potentially away from qualifying. They might even need a victory royale or just a high elim top 3. But I got faith.
Hey, if any team can do it, you know Moneymaker for 9 can pop off. They've been to the global championship. It's just all their points just came from straight eliminations as Ravage is trying to stay alive. His teammate Nova is already down. Adrix and Amos, we've seen them get aggressive when they have a huge advantage, but this time around Rapid's at least able to get the drop onto 1, but Amos is there to save the day, and that's why there's a huge strength in numbers in these early game fights, because you can go down, but that player has to reload eventually.
Sky Scroll now. Last match, they did not have to move from their drop spot. They were able to actually just build up a surge base right on top of the Reckless Railways here. Hold on to it for a majority of the mid game, and they did more than enough damage. There's actually other duos that ended up pushing them because the opposing teams were not able to do so. So hopefully they can maintain that as they're still outside that qualifying range. 16th spot. Say a good 30 points to be semi-comfortable potentially. You never really know. These are estimates that we have in mind. That's Hedra and Kirwa. Ooh, what a shot onto Axe Force. Gonna knock him down.
And his teammate isn't even necessarily on level playing field to try to go for the res, so he gets cleaned up with ease. Kerwin gets credit for that one. That's going to be their second elimination as a full-on team, and I would say it's not too much of a worry because of how much distance there is, so the player can drop down, get the reboot card, while Kerwin and Hedra are just going to continue moving forward in their own game. See him checking, see what ammo you could possibly buy from there. Scrounge together the rest of these barrels. This is where they're going to get a good amount of their metal from. If you look at their materials, they haven't really entered the stage of farming just yet.
Edge of the map, though, after those 2 elims, they have a bit more comfortability to plan their rotate, play it a bit slower, and just make sure they set themselves up for the best mid and late game possible. Conan, let's see what he was able to do. Nice little 2-tap from the DMR, showing you how quickly you can get some eliminations. That's over 200 damage, including the finish there, in just a couple seconds. And also now the opportunity to push in for that 2 versus 1 against Alexi, who does not even have any shield to work with.
This is just one of those fights where you see, again, on the minimap, multiple teams, they realize what's at stake and realize how hard Surge is to get in a straight-up fight, so they're trying to capitalize while this team, and there goes the capitalization. Conan just gets beamed by Seb. You can see Forzen just taking another angle. Even though it's 2 teams down there and they're the 3rd team on top, they have a huge advantage due to their positioning.
Now it's 2 duos and a solo. The ones with the HP and shield advantage is going to be Seb and Forzen, but Conan and his duo quickly enough are healing up, I believe. Yeah, almost back at 200 effective HP and shield. Shots being applied from the side. You don't even necessarily need the eliminations here. You just want to do as much damage as possible. But if the opportunity opens up, You might just have to execute onto it exactly as Forsen's doing here. Just one more shot needed to connect. Hits the player, gets the knockdown. And now it's 2 solos that are in this area.
Yeah. Great scenario for them to be in, separating 2 different individuals from 2 different teams. Give them the choice if they want to try to engage onto one or the other. We can see one of them's already making that swim down low towards Brawler's Battlegrounds. Meanwhile, I was going to say a third party, but at this point, it's a fourth party team on that mountain's edge looking over to see what shots they can get themselves.
Forsen Seb now pretty happy with their elimination, as I believe they're going to start making their way towards not necessarily the zone as they're already in it, but kind of the position they want to be in to open up opportunities for even more tags, because you can never have enough damage dealt in these matches. Vortex Belusi. Haven't seen as much of this duo as I would have liked today, but now it looks like they're almost in zone. They're trying to base around this bunker here. And I mean, all it really takes, Jacob, is one solid late game, one victory royale even, and it could be enough points to qualify you.
Yeah, it's just hopefully you can handle the pressure knowing that it is going to come down to this one last-ditch effort. And you see, because of that, they're quickly rotating on towards the zone, trying to find their position as fast as possible. And you see 48th place. But they put themselves in the position that a lot of teams have felt all weekend long. Win and you're in, but Trulex and Chicho, they're trying to make up for lost time. Not the best upper bracket experience in the world, but definitely making up for it here in the first 2 games of the day. Trying to go 3 for 3 and get their spot in that top 15 locked up.
The amount of third parties we've seen come out, though, in these early games. I mean, you just go for a bit of surge, and then the shots is just opportunities for other duos in the surrounding area to play even more aggressive. Trulex Chicho, not much to lose with 114 points, and on the contrary, everything to lose for Vortex and Belusi with 0 points. One duo doesn't even need to make it to the late game, and the other one needs the victory royale. 2 very different positions to be in.
And just that persistence from above, not even really wanting to put the risk, but Belusi peaks at the perfect time. Tags up Chicho, who wastes no time trying to get the shields back on up. Nobody really knows how long a fight like this will take, so you want to make sure that you're strong and capable of any turn. And there's really, well, this fight is going down. There's another team moving in for the north. There's 2 other players just east of them fighting for that bunker. So you're seeing with the last game on the line, there's so much to fight for. Surge, loot, and just simply getting those points and taking one more team out of the lobby.
Diox Cade put into trouble now. Threats in the surrounding area as Marius knocks down Diox. Cade left alone. And that's exactly how Marius and Sangold were able to pick up 2.
Still finding a way to come online. That's what we kind of know them to. Wouldn't be exciting without it. Trulex and Chicho still being that nuisance. Just tagging up Belusi, cracking those shields yet again. And they're still that team that originally were right below them, rotated on the other side. But with the damage that they've got onto Belusi, they're just going to continue to follow in those footsteps. Just like you mentioned, they basically got their spot on lock in the grand finals, barring any huge missteps, mistakes, or honestly huge successes by anybody else. So they're feeling comfortable. They're feeling the freedom to be able to fight like this. So even if they do go down, they got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, like we said, they really have nothing to lose, so they are really just making it very difficult for Belusi and Vortex here. They're not even really pushing them. They're just constantly taking shots at them from multiple angles, using their materials, making sure they can't make it to zone. I mean, if I'm Vortex and Belusi, they might just have to make a decision to completely go for the engagement. They don't have enough mats to run away. They don't even have enough mats to build up and fight, so I mean, they're going to try and just head back into zone. There's not much they can really do here.
Yeah, they got to go kind of backtracking their steps, get a lot of that old loot. Bunkers are opening up, and the team that was originally fighting over there has left it as Chicho just takes a huge shot to the face, kind of stops him in his steps. Good thing Trulex has pocket full of bananas, so they're not going to waste any time getting their HP back on up, and they're going to go on that chase, and because they're going to chase them on over, they get 2 options. They get those eliminations, and if they do, they get the bunker as well.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle. The Storm fight. We'll see how it pans out, but for now, Sky and Scroll grouped up together, edge of zone. Long ways to go for the rotation for 9 close by. Taking a look back at this bunker battle. Trulex Chicho putting the pressure on. This one's going to end, and one of the duos being eliminated here. There's no other option.
Yeah. I think Chicho does have some splashes, but I don't think it's really enough to take a very, very prolonged fight. And they're cornering them. They're just pushing them further and further back into the corner. You're seeing Trulex and Chicho being very, very careful not to overstep their boundaries. And this is where the mind games come in. Trulex and Chicho can easily pretend like they're disengaging and wait at the entrance. There's only one way in, one way out, and realistically, you have to go through Trulex and Chicho.
We'll see Trulex was crouching away, trying to avoid them, hearing those footsteps. Like you said, they don't even know where Trulex might be. But Chicho is going to hold his ground, and Vortex and Belusi have to push him.
And he's getting that wall on the other side. This is going to be a good risk for Chicho, but it's not too much of a risk considering the situation that they're in. Lucy and Vortex on the other side, they're the ones who have everything to lose in a situation like this. I know it's dangerous, but I feel like if they have no HP, I would love to see them try to just rush their way there as quick as possible as Trulex backtracks with the Flowberry Fizz to try to reunite with Chicho. But a huge beam as Vortex is just trying to flank. Is he going to be able to get it off? Yes. Ooh, I was just as worried, Takata.
The bandage put to good use, but what are we even watching right now, Jacob? This is probably the longest fight we've seen in the semifinals as Belusi's hunting for anything that he can use to heal. The Flowberry is only going to give him shield as he pops one for a bit of mobility. But with no bandages, no med kit, no nothing in sight, Belusi's going to get knocked down.
Yeah, he knows it. Tries to get closer and closer to Vortex, who has that 30 HP. It's going to be a huge revive train just to get out of this situation. Trulex and Chicho, they're the ones that were holding them back. You see them rotating on in the distance, but they were in a much healthier spot. And Trulex left that fight early to find even more heals, thinking 3 steps ahead of the game, knowing the situation him and Chicho were in.
Shimoki Wheat now 22nd place on the leaderboard. Looking pretty healthy in terms of basically everything materials and loot wise. They are on the edge of zone, which opens up more opportunities to get tags, but also to get staggered behind and have more difficult of a rotate later on in the match. But as long as they're able to stay consistent here and do a bit of damage, hopefully they can secure a solid placement to finish it off. Marius and Sanguild, on the other hand, already at 84 points. They really just have to secure a bit more placement points, so they really do not want to put themselves into any danger here.
Yeah, and you're seeing a couple of these teams that are just inside of that bubble, already down, already out. Just got to sit and just hope that everybody below him gets eliminated before placement points come in. Not really have a chance to catch up. It's Kiduo. Him and Cheatin' are in such a good position in that last game. 56 points, though. They still have some more room to improve. And Kiduo, he has to be up for the challenge. He is going to be by himself. Luckily for him, they were able to get at least one of these 2 players down, so it is just going to be a solo on the other side.
4 points. Needs to clutch it up for the Victor Royale almost here. Kiduo as well, out of qualifying range right now. Both players need a big match, and both players have to do it as a solo. But Kiduo is going to get taken out here, even with the medallion. This would be an insane clutch, Jacob. Medallion in hand, mythic shotgun, full materials, and potentially a reboot coming through. Gets cracked, though. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They were watching that fight. They saw as the coin had gotten dropped. And they're closing in on the distance. I don't know if Ricky and his teammates see all of this happening and hear the reboot at the very minimum. This is when Velry, Firehunter are starting to enter into the mix. They know he has the dash medallion and they want it for themselves. especially depending on where they're at on the leaderboard, but he's quickly moving, he's grooving, trying to get out alive, but they're hot on the chase, on those heels, not wanting to let him survive, whether if it's down a layer or up a layer. He's gonna meet his demise, but it's actually a whole nother team who gets credit for the elimination, and they're forced into fight after fight here.
Medallion has been taken once again. Now a duo has it in their hands, so this is huge for them for this late game. 72 points on the board. We just need to stay up a little bit longer here. Gonna kind of wait here, I would assume 13 seconds till next zone appears. They have those dashes, so the rotation should be a bit easier for this duo.
Some have an easy road, others not so much. Astral and Art Skill, they're trying to take advantage of this team while they can, because it's not just a win that they need a couple eliminations on top of that. So might as well get them while you're so isolated on the other side of the map. Zone pulling away. It's going to be the best chance that they have to get these eliminations and get their game going before it's too late and everybody's congested closer together and making those fights that much more riskier. Alex is getting backed up. Rick 4 is getting shielded. Both of them just down to just HP. Shots coming in still from 2 different angles, but they did a good job fighting back, forcing Astral, Art Skill a few seconds to heal up. Ooh.
One shot is all it's gonna take. There it is, 101. Humble Alex getting put down. Is now Astral and Art Skill are gonna continue the hunt for Rick Bor. 1 replace, 1 shot, 24 white. It was not a big one, as Art Skill's been basically cracked here, but his duo partner should be able to clean this up. 2 elims for this duo now.
It's 4 more points right there. If they keep up the aggression in terms of elimination, it lowers the placement that they have to get. But as long as they have a low amount of eliminations, it kind of forces that win scenario due to catch up. Bad Sniper and S double. Very similar position, but just not as bad. They have a 34-point cushion. 4 of those points coming from that elimination that SS double was able to achieve so far. And you can see that they're just immediately just trying to go deeper into zone. They're kind of playing that passive route because they're not far down the leaderboard like some of the other competitors in the lobby are.
It's funny because unlike the top teams, a lot of them have gone down already, knowing they're already basically secured their spot in. Axe Force and Clownski with a double chain of Hades, but is it actually going to work out? Just 5 HP. There's no way, right?
Wow.
That's crazy. Lucia. Poor Lucia.
Sometimes you just can't focus when you're just getting tossed and turned upside down.
Thrown around the room. 2 elims now, though, for this duo.
You can see on the outskirts of the map, zone continuously moving towards the north. That's going to force a congested side eventually on that southern edge, and you're seeing a lot of the teams stagger themselves. They don't even see the edge of zone just yet. Adrix, Amos, 12 points so far. I believe that elimination was kind of stolen away from them. That was Akira who went down. Leaving his teammate by himself, which isn't too much of a worry. You see the 3 medkits, 3 splashes. With zone pulling away, there is a realistic opportunity for him to get Akira back into the game.
Realistic, but not easy. As Adrix is getting chased right now. Or actually, no, he's not. I believe the solo that's in zone is still staying there. So they are going to be able to group up here and figure out which rotate they want to take. The Flowberry, they should be able to make their ground pretty quickly here. They even have bananas if they really have to resort to it, but so far so good.
Floki and Vox high up above, 270 damage above the threshold as well, but only 14 points. As soon as 5 teams go down, those placement points will begin to start to set in. With every team that goes down, you get more and more for your efforts, which is why you see such an importance onto Storm Surge. It's these couple of zones that we see passing before us where it starts to turn on and you realize how above the curve or behind the curve you actually are, and it puts you into go time.
Storm Surge base not actually in the zone, so they are going to be forced to rotate now. Robin Ju, 289 below. They need more than just a few tags here. They need more than a whole elimination. They need 2.
Gee, they're ready to go. Speaking to the cone, getting information of where these players are going to rotate into. Tries to drop on top from above. Unfortunately enough, they're not able to find it just yet, so they have to continue to go on the hunt. A couple of shots are going to be landed. That's going to help him in terms of surge, but it is going to activate now with still 223 damage to go. Plenty of heals split between the two. More loot down below. But it's a decision with only a couple people needing to go down. They might make, and there's some good shots on the weak, but still, you said it yourself. One elimination might not even be enough. How about two? Because there are still 100 below taking damage now.
51 players up, though. As the clock keeps ticking. How many battles are going on for Storm Surge right now as they're starting to lose a significant amount of HP? Ammo close by. They have Spurf, low berries. They can use the tank, but how much longer are they going to have the tank?
Especially with somebody peeking through, you got to imagine. Amos is probably down on Surge just as well, but he's scrapped together the rest of the loot that Robin and Ju were trying to save for a later day. 89 below the damage threshold. This is where they're going to try to make that rotation. They got so much distance to cover, knowing I don't think out healing it is going to work. Quickly tries to bob around. Other players are rotating simultaneously, and this is his opportunity, or at least this is what he feels like is his best chance to get the damage needed.
Once again, Flowberry coming through. Still 196 below. They have used a significant amount of the whole lobby's shield, basically, to tank this. And now I think they're quickly realizing that. And they're going to go look for a bit more damage.
Yeah, on the chase for Twy. He quickly turns around and lands a good shot onto Robin.
Oh.
And the tables have definitely turned. Twy's going to take down Robin. I feel like maybe he reunited with his duo or something. I don't know how he was caught off guard, but Ju as well tries to dash his way in. Storm Surge forcing the hand of a lot of players to make decisions they don't normally want to make.
Kaido now in the pressure as the chaos is surrounding him. Even the storm ticking, 193 below. You can eat that banana, but you're gonna need more than that. Trying to see, he has sniper rifle in hand, looking for some quick headshot, a quick peek, but cannot find any options.
Oh, this is just terrible. Back-to-back teams so far below the damage threshold. Trying to out-heal it. Bigger gap of players do need to fall, but there's one way to try to turn the tide. Snipe shot's gonna connect, but it's not enough. And they're continuously still falling down. No opportunities really presenting themselves, but as the zone moves, this is where players are gonna rotate. And hopefully they can start to land those shots because they are playing so well up until this point. 74 points, Takada. They are outside of the estimated bubble.
This could be a tragedy, but also an insane clutch.
I'm here for that.
With only 39 builds, well, 39 wood. It's only 3 builds, almost 4, but not even that. After just 3 below, doesn't even need a big shot to connect here. That's a duo though. Goes straight into the box. It's 80 blue. No crack connecting yet. Now 64. Just needs a bit of placement, Jacob. They're just on the borderline of qualifying.
Yeah, it needs about like 6 or so teams to go down worth of placement points. 12 individual players. Even when one falls, still don't get the credit for that. 28 above the damage threshold. That's a lot of pressure to put on one player. No builds, no heals, barely above the threshold line, and still need a couple more points before you feel that safety of inside of the top 15.
Good news is, Zone has pulled back, basically. So if he does not go below here, in theory, should be able to hold this angle and find potential tags as duos start rotating in. Like you said, just about 14 points. Could be enough to qualify. That's one elimination and a little bit of placement now. 14 below, 12 below. It's going up and down as the 25 tag might be enough. There it is, now above. A bit of safety. A few more seconds now to crouch behind here and get as many placements as possible.
Yeah, he has no choice but to wait for all these duos to pass him up because he doesn't have builds to protect himself. He's hoping finally he's the last train in line and that way he can dash to safety. But oh, she gets downed out. Mo's grind is going to be the one to take him out. Marius now by himself, again, staggering outside of zone. He is below on Surge. The Marius that we know and love, he has to show up here. He has to show up now to try to clutch up some points. He's inside of the bubble, but you want to secure it officially.
Marius trying to see if he can find any shots here, as he has no more materials, forced to get dropped down. 102 points, though. He should be good. As Very up above. maintaining that height. Floki, Vox, 40 points, a long ways to go to qualify. They cannot go down now.
Yeah, with each team falling, those points are going to start to ring in, and this is the position with another one taken down. Almost elimination points, placement points, everything's stacking up. Sky and Scroll, they find themselves 90 points so far. They're trying to hold on because they want to stamp their spot in the grand finals, but Sky with no builds, using those dashes, jumbling all around, trying to catch players off guard. While all this is going down, Pixie and Wox use it all as a distraction to steal the high ground for themselves.
This is huge for Pixie and Wox. They needed a massive match to qualify here. Sky, Scroll, gone down at 92. Might be enough, might not. Floki at 50, though. They definitely need more.
There's still a lot of placement points on the board, and sprinkle in a couple more eliminations. If you can grab them, that will be great. Doom and Icy on the other side. Well-placed game one. Put him in contention of a grand final spot, but a huge flank onto Jake Buka. Another one's be found by Floki and Vox. 62 points, slowly but surely climbing up that leaderboard.
Great job staying ahead. Just 3 builds left now, though. They're going to have to start looking back as the maps get split up. A few more builds to stay ahead. Wox still applying pressure from above. Pixie dropping down to see what he can find. 23 builds with 58 points. They might just need to win this game.
Yeah, might not have no other choice. They still need 30. They might need some eliminations on top of that. Don't know how many's left. Quick maps ain't working. X-Force Clowny trying to do some quick thinking of themselves. They have that Flowberry Fizz as they're trying to get all the information of all the teams floating in and around their current spot. As Vox goes down, leaving all the pressure of the world on the Floki's shoulders. And he's so close to the bubble, he can taste it.
Floki is not qualified yet, but he is on the borderline. You said it yourself, just one elimination might be all he needs. Gets 86, is it gonna be enough? I don't know. Pixie at 72, still up above. Shooting down, raining below as they're getting closer and closer to that qualifying range.
Top 3 situation. There's no guarantees for some of these players still left alive. The focus down from above. Pixie Wox. They're trying to target him down, force the altercation. The chain of Hades comes out from Klowski, but he gets traded down. It's all up to Axe-Force. Velry's gonna fall down, try to play Disruptor. Pixie's there as well. Wox is trying to stay up above. He doesn't want to get caught in the madness just in case it comes down to a heal off. Pixie does it yet again, along with Wox. 6 eliminations and a big game win to force themselves into the EU Grand Finals.
They needed that victory royale to qualify, and they might have just clutched it up in the last match. I'm not even sure. I can't confirm anything yet, Jacob. They might just be on the borderline. What a way to close out the EU FNCS semifinals.
And there's something you said throughout the course of that game. You were mentioning it. You were reminding me. Top players were going down left, right, and center. So depending on which bottom of the barrel teams have managed to make it this far into the end game, the leaderboard could be all over the place. That estimate could be even higher than we thought before. So this is really going to come down to 3 people that could really break it all down, Sakata, and I'm ready to know who it is, man.
Yeah, I really have no idea who took it. The leaderboard has been shooken up. There are so many duos that are right on that borderline of qualifying, so I don't want to waste more time. Let's head on over to the analysts. Let us know what just happened.
Thank you, guys. That was absolutely wild, especially when you consider that Pixie and Vox were 42nd on the leaderboard before that third and final game. They needed to make it into the top 15. They managed to get that victory royale with 6 eliminations, which means they've got themselves a tidy amount of points. But let's face it, nothing less than a victory royale would do for these guys. So really, it's now about whether they got enough eliminations. And apologies, they actually got 7 mini minor. Do you anticipate seeing them in the grand finals next week?
I hope so. I